Hi, how's it going? Good? Oh, really? Oh, wow. She said what? Oh my God. Okay, well, I'm glad we talked about that. It's always good to, just clear the table with your YouTube viewers and, make sure that they have a chance to, air what's on their mind. Just remember that I'm thinking of you, okay? Um, hey, what's up? I'm wearing what I like to refer to as gangster chic. It's a new clothing trend that I'm starting. I like it, and I think it's very good for expressing yourself, and it's also very good for street cred. I want to make a video about spirituality. I actually was directly inspired to make this video by Kendra, and I made that previous video about gender roles because I was inspired by one of INFP's videos. I ended up not doing that video as a response. I think I actually will do this one as a response to Kendra though, because it'd be nice to, just have a little more visibility on YouTube. But yeah, I was gonna do my next video about family, but I don't want to talk about that. I made it sound like it's really serious. I don't want to talk about my family, okay? No, I want to talk about spirituality because my therapist asked me about my religious history in our last meeting, and I was like, "What? What does that have to do with my emotional shit? What? I don't want to talk about that." And she was like, "Well, that has a lot to do with your outlook and where you draw hope from and all that stuff." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." And so, then because I've been thinking a lot about MBTI stuff and my personality and INFP stuff, I sort of drew the two together. And then seeing Kendra's video really just wanted to make me talk about this. Because, like I say, recording these videos is therapeutic for me because I don't talk a lot. I go through most of the day reading or thinking, not talking. So it's good to, have a change of pace. I made a list. Oh, I actually made an organized thing here. My current belief system is basically atheist. It's influenced more by the Albert Camus existentialist wing of atheism than it is by the Richard Dawkins scientific theory of atheism. I just don't see any point in spending your time investing in a religion when there's no immediate presence of God or a God or gods in the world. For me, at least, that's how I feel. I do have some interest in Eastern philosophy, sort of Buddhism, sort of Hinduism. I don't know that much about it, and I frankly can't be bothered to learn just because I don't care. But I have a few friends who are really into Eastern religions, and it seems cool. It seems more appealing to me than I guess the Abrahamic faiths, which seem very dogmatic and very much this is how you have to live your life, okay? And I'm not big on that whole authoritarian deal. I am a pretty spiritual person, though, even though I'm not particularly religious. The most spiritual thing I do in my life is acting. That's enormously spiritual. When I was in college, the acting technique that I sort of decided was the best one for me was the Michael Chekhov technique, and that's a tech. I'll try and keep this in layman's terms, but basically the Michael Chekhov technique, and he's the nephew of Anton Chekhov, the famous Russian playwright. Michael Chekhov's technique is very holistic. It's based in this idea that the body and the mind are connected. So if you're trying to experience something in character emotionally, you also have to be experiencing it physically. It's not method acting in the sense of, Sean Penn like locking himself in a basement and pretending he had Down syndrome for I Am Sam or whatever he did. I don't know. I would never do anything like that. My philosophy and the Michael Chekhov philosophy is very much based on finding an emotional center in your physical body for this character and developing a way for that emotional center to have a sort of spreading, radiating effect into your whole body, into your emotional sense. And I take it very seriously, and I consider it to be very much a spiritual, almost out of body experience. When I've used the Michael Chekhov technique in acting to its full effect, I have felt like I was watching my body from a distance, and that I consider to be really cool. That's like really rewarding for me. So that's like as spiritual as my life usually gets. In terms of religion, yeah, pretty much I would say atheist with maybe some interest in existentialism and maybe some interest in Eastern faiths, but meh. My ethical beliefs, right? So INFPs have these deep-seated ethical beliefs, and it's easy to assume that that would be connected to religion. Well, I'm an INFP who's not particularly religious. So most of my really deeply held convictions are not so much based on faith or religion or dogma as they are on social or environmental concerns. For instance, I'm a vegetarian. I actually started doing the vegetarian thing to just kind of like improve my health. But I ended up kind of, since I did it and I liked how I felt health-wise, I started getting more into the ethical stuff. And now when people ask me, why are you a vegetarian? I say, because I care about the well-being and humane treatment of animals. I'm not like PETA style. I'm not like signing up for field trips to go and firebomb, turkey farms. But I do think that the way that we treat animals in industrialized agriculture in the West is just abominable. It's just shameful. And it's predicated on this concept that like animals don't have souls or feelings, or that they somehow deserve to be manipulated by human beings, which I can't understand that. I can't understand that. From a very young age, animals have been very much imbued with human characteristics for me. That's just always how I've been. You can ask anyone in my family. I've always been extremely emotionally connected with animals, and I just think the way that we treat them is atrocious. Having said that, I'm not like a proselytizer when it comes to vegetarianism. Like I hang out with well over 80-90% of my friends are not vegetarian. You do whatever you're gonna do. I'm not trying to spread the word or anything. That's my ethical thing. I also have pretty strong beliefs about like environmental issues. Climate change is obviously something that matters, and sometimes I'll get kind of down in the dumps because I'll think about like the world is going to be like totally different at best in 200 years. At worst, it's going to be just wrecked, like with what we're doing to the planet in terms of climate change. I know some people don't believe in it or whatever, but like for me, I think it's really important to take care of this planet that we live on. Actually, Bill O'Reilly, he's like this famous conservative commentator on Fox News, I think he has a really good opinion. His opinion is, if you don't believe in climate change, fair enough. But even if climate change is fake, what is the harm in trying to like improve the quality of the world we live on? Because this is the only planet we have. So I feel pretty strongly about like environmental stuff. And I have deep convictions, but as I say, they're like not really connected to religion, if that makes sense. Family history. So I was raised and baptized in the United Church of Christ, which is pretty progressive. It's basically Protestant. I I think it's Protestant. If it's not Protestant, it's Protestant adjacent. It's definitely not Catholic. Um, so yeah, it was a very progressive church. You know, like people would show up in T-shirts and wearing sandals on Sunday morning. You know, it was just super laid back. You know, there was always one person in the back row with like a Grateful Dead shirt or something on it. It's just like super progressive, like one step away from being um, a hippie commune of some kind, just with weird Christian stuff mixed in. So I was like raised in a really progressive church, and the reason for that is that my father has always been pretty much atheist-ish. He he's an INTP, just straight up. And like I say, we'll do a different video about my parents' types, but he's straight up INTP. So he has very little patience for religious concepts. He was raised like what's the Anglican church called? Episcopalian. He was raised Episcopalian, but like by the time he was 18, he was done with that shit. Very atheist. So basically, when he met my mom and you know they got pregnant with me, they must have had a discussion, and my dad was just like, "Do what you want to do in terms of religion, but if you leave it up to me, we're not going to church." And my mom, she was raised like hardcore Scandinavian Lutheran because she was raised in rural Minnesota. And you know, like there are some good things about ELCA Lutheranism, and really compared to a lot of other organized religions, I think it's pretty cool. But there are also some effed up things too, and so she, I think, was kind of trying to push away from that because she felt a lot more exposed to the effed up stuff than the good stuff in Minnesotan Lutheranism. So she was raised in the ELCA Lutheran Church, but then stopped doing that. And yeah, so when about the time I was born, they were like, let's find a different church. So they picked out United Church of Christ because that's like really progressive, and everybody in there, like during the Obama campaign, people would come up, like stand up during church and be like, everyone should vote for Obama, which is the opposite of what you would expect to happen during a church service. You know, the stereotype of churches in America is like really Republican, you know. The church I grew up in was very different. But even though that was the case, even though I grew up in that church, I wasn't really compelled to stay involved in it. Sorry, I made a list and now I can't read it. Oh, yeah. Having said that, having said all that stuff about my experience in this United Church of Christ, I did go to Gustavus Adolphus, which is a ELCA Lutheran college, private school in southern Minnesota, and it's directly affiliated with the ELCA church. When I lived in California, people would ask, "Where'd you go to college?" And I was like, "Gustavus," and they were like, "I've never heard of that." And I was like, "Oh, it's a private school," and they were like, "Oh, wow, so you must be rich." And I'd be like, no, I'm not rich. It was a religious school. It was a Christian school. And they're like, "Oh, you're weird then, huh?" No, it's ELCA Lutheran. It's fine. It's difficult to explain to people, but like, you know, it's a high quality college that has a random old school affiliation to the ELCA church. So whatever. I don't know. I never felt pressured to start having a different religious experience while I was there. For a year, I had like kind of a peripheral interest in becoming more Christian, but then I realized that like it's just not for me. It's having a faith system in my life is just it's just a way for me to kind of like look to a part of the sky and be like, for this Christmas, I would like a girlfriend, happiness, peace on earth, and a new car, please. And, you know, nothing, but you never get a response. So it's just like, when you have the psychology of religion that I did at that time in college, it's never going to work. So I basically ended up, losing interest in that and reverting back to where I was in high school, which is agnosticism, but pretty heavily leaning towards atheism. And since I graduated, I've moved even further, I think, towards atheism. And all that stuff said, about my lack of adherence to religion, I am very tolerant of other people's faith. I think it's very important that we have religious liberty in our society, and I think that if people feel like their lives are made better by believing in God, knock yourself out. Like, do your thing. I want all of my friends, not just my friends, but like everyone in the world. I want everybody to feel like their lives are meaningful. And as an atheist, I can tell you, sometimes my life doesn't feel meaningful, and that sucks dick. It's horrible, and for some people, a way of dealing with that apparent meaninglessness is to have faith in your life. And like, if that's what you need to get through it, hey, knock yourself out, because life really does suck sometimes. And if you need faith to help you get through it, do your thing, man. So I'm very sort of open-minded when it comes to other people telling me that they have religious affiliation. Yeah, I don't know. It's just for me, the whole atheism thing. I have no interest in spreading it to other people at all. I just do it for me because Kendra actually worded it really well in her video. She said something like, I can't remember what exactly she said, but it was something like, I don't need religion in my life. I don't need that guilt from religion in my life because I do that to myself anyway. And like, I completely identify with that. And that's definitely an INFP thing, right? Because we guilt trip ourselves and get in these cycles of like, oh, it's my fault. Like, INFPs are amazingly self-critical, and like, I feel the exact same way, Kendra. I don't need a pie in the sky telling me you're fucking this up and this up and this up in your life, because I already know that stuff. I'm already very self-critical, and I'm already working really, really hard to try and be an ethical person. So totally identify with that. And yeah, I don't think I have anything else really specifically that I want to say. Oh yeah, for anyone who watches videos in sequence on my channel, sorry about that last one. I do get mischievous sometimes. And sometimes when I turn on the camera, I don't want to record a serious video. I want to be a troll and make videos where I'm in character as someone who has weight problems. And it was offensive, and I have no regrets. You're welcome. You got to watch me pretending to be fat. That's funny. I don't care what you think. That is funny. So you'll probably see another one at some point. Another weird me in character as some random person. I make it up on the spot. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a free spirit. I like to create things. So deal with it, alright? God.